people don't mention is like you make the decision, you have this thing, but you have to feel crazy at the moment where it's like maybe you've gone down this path, you started the business, you've gone 2, 3, 5, 10 years even, and you have to start over, or you have to go a completely different route. Tell people that, like that you say you committed to this whole project. You have to tell all these people so in this book, he was mentioning just how hard that can be to really make that decision. It is a decision at the end of the day, but it's like shedding the skin. You have to literally, it feels like death.
It's easy not to do it.
Yeah,
it's so easy not to do it, because if you're going the wrong direction, at what point do you want to turn back?
Yeah.
And we used to have that when we were talking to people about their financial decisions. If it was bad and wrong, and they did it 10 years ago, at what point would you like me to tell you?
Yeah.
Even if your brother sold it to you.
Yeah.
Which happened a lot. Like, oh, my brother sold me this. I go, well, it's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's not going to do what you asked them to do.
One of my favorite metaphors is the mountain. Like people climb a mountain, like say it's like they got their job, they've been working 10 years or whatever they're doing in their life. They're 75% up the mountain and they can see the top of the mountain and they want to get to the top, but there's no more path left where they're on. So the only way to get to that top is they have to go all the way back down the mountain and then climb up a different path. Like how many people want to go all the way back down the mountain? Like some people are okay with the view they have, but if you really want to get to the top, that's a cool metaphor.
Going all the way down to the bottom of the mountain and coming back up sucks, but it doesn't. It's fun when you look back on it. You say, you know what? And every time you gain ability to do that thing, it's a very powerful attribute to have in your life, because you know nothing is a big deal anymore.
Right.
If you're fully aware that you can recreate yourself in an instant, and you have the exact formula on how to do that. You know how the 3 steps. You know how to execute them. You've tried and failed, but you've sustained. So we're going to talk about the shadow for a few seconds here, because he talks about the life of denial and addiction, the shadow life, and how addiction is so common in people's lives. The addictions that drinking, drugs, and those stories play out the way they always. Alcohol has a story of job loss, family issues, relationships. A lot of times people get in legal trouble, and then drugs, of course, you have illness, sickness, incarceration. Like those are the life of the rock star. And he says it's a repetitive process with progress to incapacity. Those are the 2 attributes of addiction. Like you do it every day. You live your own day like you did yesterday, and you get nowhere except incapacity. You become completely impotent in life. You have no ability to do anything. And you're medicated and sustaining. But metaphorically, the life of denial, he talks about someone living the life of addiction like a rock star, but never writes a song. They're emulating, they're imitating the rock stars, but they're never getting out there with their own music. Mm-hmm. Or you'll see a lot of times someone who's on staff, really super talented person on staff of an innovator, who's really a good innovator, never creates a product or an invention. Or the doctor whose shadow calling is a doctor, but his real life's a piano player. The genius that's hidden in a career. Like there's geniuses at the Apple store right now. I guarantee it, because they pay you pretty good. There's geniuses in Amazon right now. Amazon pays really well. There's people in those companies that are amazingly talented, and they're not living their true potential. Their true calling is not being dealt with. And a lot of people are terrified of that.
I'm going to read these habits of a professional because I think it's pretty cool. And you tell me if any stand out to you. So these are the habits from the book, the habits of the professional. So when you're trying to be a professional, like you said, the day-to-day things, here's some habits of professionals. The professional is patient, seeks order, demystifies, acts in the face of fear, accepts no excuses, plays it as it lays, is prepared, does not show off, dedicates himself to mastering technique, does not hesitate to ask for help, does not take failure or success personally, does not identify with his or her instrument, endures adversity, self-validates, reinvents herself, is recognized by other professionals. Which one, does any hit home for you?
Well, the whole process of the amateur versus the professional, because it comes down to you got people that are amateurs and they're addicts living a shadow calling life. They're kind of they're getting by, and they always pull the pin on things. They always quit in the middle of something to find something that's as easy and less challenging, or as challenging or very little challenge to sustain, as opposed to the amateur that is a committed artist and is looking for that mastery. Like Malcolm Gladwell does in Outliers, like that 10,000 hours to mastery. They never pull the pin, and they're living their life, and they figure out how to pay their bills.
Right.
Being an amateur, means being stuck in the past, the circumstances. You never of your old life, you never really grow up. So that's the life of an amateur, and the life of the professional is the guy that goes to work or the girl that goes to work, doesn't complain, is indifferent to bad feedback, just makes adjustments and deals with it. As shines light on the issues, and it makes the adjustments and takes out the bad habits and puts in the good habits.
Boom.
The simplicity of I know my brother Sean, I always tell this story. Like, he drinks Budweiser, which is 145 calories. So he came visit me last year. I was at his house the other day, and I said, and he gets pissed off when I tell this story, but it's a true story, and it helped him because he made one little adjustment and lost a bunch of weight, like a lot of weight. He went from Bud to Bud Light. Yeah, 50 calories per beer. So he's a beer drinker, like not excessively, but he drinks beer. So if he's drinking 20 beers a week, which isn't a lot of beer. I used to be able to drink 30 beers in a day. I would float a battleship, but 20 beers at 50 calories, 1,000. What's that? 1,000 calories?
I don't even know. What did you say?
50 calories.
At how many?
Lost 10 pounds.
Yeah,
like making one small adjustment, changing nothing else in a year, because it takes time to do it.
Right.
You just make that. You take something out, you add, delete, and you modify things. You evaluate, and you constantly improve. And before you know it, you're there. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's the best. Great book.
Yeah, there's a quote here I wrote down. When we turn pro, the energy that once went into the shadow novel goes into our real novel, and what we once thought was real, the world, including the epicenter, which is ourselves, turns out to be only a shadow. And what had we seemed only be a dream now becomes the reality of our lives. You have given yourself a new reputation to live up to. That last part was mine. Like, when you make that conscious decision that I am now a pro, like, imagine waking up and hearing the alarm go off, because I do this now in the morning. Like, professionals get up when the alarm goes off. Doesn't make a difference how tired or sick you are. Like, you hear beep, beep, beep. You're like, I'm a professional. I'm getting up.